We are well into lockdown now, and I can already tell things are not going to be the same when we come out of it. We're going through really difficult times. The work is mounting up. As such, these videos are going to get a little bit shorter. They're not going to have everything in I would want. I simply don't have the time. I will put some stuff in throughout the week as and when I can. Please bear with us because it will get more interesting. We'll try and put some better content in, but for now we're just going to have to see what comes up each week. That's it. The Royal Horticultural Society have said we are in crisis. The industry is lacking youngsters coming through. This is Eggleston Hall Gardens, and over the next 12 months we're going to take you on a journey of what it's like to run a nursery garden. Well, you know, the Comasias are looking fine. Thank you to all the viewers that told me all about them in America. Washington, I believe. Anyway, I think they're starting to come into flower now. I've got no bloody customers to look at them, but they are really looking nice. You know, I've been speaking to other people around that have businesses, and we have to the one thing that I am noticing is that so many businesses are saying nothing's going to be the same again after this coronavirus crisis. None of the business there, they've got staff furloughed, they haven't laid them off, but they're starting to look at who they employ and what they've got and think to themselves, do I need them all? You know, and then how have they acted when they're under furlough? You know, have they kept in contact? Have they rung and offered help or assistance or just support? From my point of view, I think exactly the same. Some do, some don't. You have to take all these things into equations. Anyway, on a cheerier note, the Alpines. Do you remember the Alpines we did earlier in the year? In the cold depths of winter. What is that dog doing? Pepper, dirty bastard. Well, you can see some of them are really starting to fill up their pots and get away now. These are not really saleable for this year, but by the end of the year they're going to look lovely, and next spring they're going to be fantastic. Summer in flower. You have this little Achillea. There's various things, but it's the actual plant itself that we want to build up. If we could just go over there and have a look at those yellow daisies. Well, oh, this thing. The cameraman's pointing to this thing. Tetranuris, scaposa. Looks like a fucking dandelion to me. Anyway, the little yellow daisy over there is looking quite nice. And a little saxifrage here coming up. That'll come out in, I think, in an orange flower. It's, I only recently got into these Alpines, but it's nice to see when you propagate stuff, to see it doing well. Oi, come here. You're a big softie. You're a twat. Ah. Come on. So it's week 18 and we have taken delivery of God knows how many plants here. Trays of them, 50 to 100 in each tray. And these are plants that we were what's that Finn here, as depressed at the work as I am, that we were contracted to take. We were planning for 2021 and 2022. So these are really for growing on for then. I would rather not have taken them, but if I didn't, I would have had to have paid 90% of the cost anyway for a cancellation. And I think even then I would have taken these. They're not like bedding plants that we have to turn around within 3 months, although I still have some of those coming in next week. But it's a dilemma, because you don't know, do I just get all bloody arse nippy about this and think, oh, I've got to close up and not do anything? Or do you think to yourself, well, come on, we're going to get out of this, it's going to buck up, let's get stuck in and go, and there's nothing's happened. It's a question of whether you want to die on your feet or die on your knees. It's just how it feels, really. I wish I could, I've said this before, I wish I could get you to smell these things. This is a rose. This is a rose called Ophelia. And no, her surname wasn't Balls. I think it was Johnson. I think in America, I'm sorry, I think in America that has a different meaning. And it's called Ophelia, Rosa Ophelia, and the scent of it, you know, like, I'm not a rose lover. I love the flower, but I don't like the plant. The plant's a pain in the ass, and the bugger pricks you. But this rose, when it comes out, if I can get that one down up there. It's grown in the greenhouse because years ago the hall was a finishing school. You may remember a few years back there was a television series called Ladettes to Ladies. Was it? Yeah, Ladettes to Ladies. And that was set here. Well, the first 2 series were, I think. And it was set down in the hall. Well, the hall has nothing to do with me. It was originally a finishing school. And that's why we have certain roses. We had one called Alice the Stella Grey, and it was for flower arranging, you know, teaching posh birds how to arrange flowers, because they had to be good for something. And there is Blue Dancer. I can't remember whether we filmed this last week. I think we did, but there you were. A few seconds of that won't hurt you. So getting back to that, yeah, what do? We either just sit down and feel sorry for ourselves, or we just gird up our loins and get stuck in as best we can. There's only the 2 of us. And at my age, I ain't got a lot of loins to be girding up. But we'll do it anyway. Although I just don't know how we're going to get these potted. I've got grass to cut soon. There were some nice little plants in here of Moulin Rouge, a nice red astrantia. I bought it a couple of years ago, or last year or somewhere. I think it was from Just Must. They're really nice little plant. Look at it, completely grazed off. They were due for repotting and tidying up. They're nice bushy little plants, completely grazed off, as was the variegated one there. They were nice and bushy. There's a little bit left there. You know what it is? Fucking rabbits. They love Astrantia, but it would appear they only like red Astrantias or variegated ones, the expensive ones, because there's a whole load of pots there lower down on the wall and touched them. Bastards. One little rabbit. It's probably that one little rabbit. I know the dogs have had it because they've ate it. I saw them eating it yesterday, but I don't know how long it was in here, a night or two, but buggers, bloody rabbits. Just to show I'm not a total barbarian, we do have these rabbit traps, and I think Pepper's onto another one. We do have them, and we set them with carrots and with bits and pieces, and if we catch them, we just take them over the fields. And Thomas, the last one Thomas caught, he took it back to his farm and let it go in the woods. So we do try. Oh, look at this. Here, I have to show you this. This is lovely. We have no idea what this could be. Hottie eye or one of those. It's a lovely yellow rhododendron. We've been here years. Since they're not really rhododendron ground, it's just on the slightly acid side, so we can get away with them. But I just think that's a lovely colour. Almost a canary or canary yellow, acid yellow. Oh dear. So many descriptions of plant colours. You know, we're all used to the bright yellows of forsythia in the spring. Some people are a bit sniffy about that and the flowering currant. Well, I am actually. I've always sort of like looked down on them a bit because they're like easy and then most people's gardens. But you know, there is a third option that comes out every spring just when they've finished. You've got forsythia, you've got flowering currant, and then you've got this little chap, or chapess. Must be a chapess. This is Exocorda macrantha, the bride. It's a really nice sort of semi-weeping, lax shrub. It grows a bit taller than this. This one's got a bit sprawly, probably because I've never got round to pruning it at the right time after flowering. And just hack bits back here and there. It comes at a very busy time, but the flower is really very, very pretty, and it flowers for quite a long period. You can see all along the branch there's lots of buds still waiting to open. It's a lovely thing that flowers on the previous year's growth. Beautiful, beautiful plant. There is a degree of excitement today, and it is my own excitement because of the length of my new hose attachment. This is a 3-foot lance. Look at that. Oh, it means I can get my pipe into places that it wouldn't normally reach at arm's length. Look at that. Look, it's bloody exciting. Alright, let's go down to Dorset, get some sense.
We're just doing some running repairs. because all these, well, obviously the tunnel cover's come off, so that means it's windy in here now, and we've got all these 3 litres down here which need to be potted up, but obviously we can't pot them at the moment because of everything that's going on. So we're just gonna, we desperately need to space them out because they will again cram together. So we put everything into this tunnel on the right so that we could recover these 2 on the left and the middle, but obviously we can't at the moment. So yeah, so they all need to be spaced out now they've come into leaf. So my husband in the green and his friend Jake are just putting in posts all the way down the side so we can run wire or string so we can separate them all, and then when things are a bit more back to normal we can pot them all, and then they'll be in here anyway. This is where we keep our bigger stuff. So yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Bo, are you helping? No. Doesn't look like it. And look at all these here. These are Oriums, Macariatsabusas, Dissectums, and Autumn Moons. Looking very pretty. Just doing a bit of evening potting down there. These are the litres, so these are last year's 1-year grafts that need to be potted into litres. So I was going to show you. The colours are amazing because they're starved of, there's no goodness left in the pots, so that's why we pot them up. It doesn't do them any harm at all, it just, they've run out of puff in the pots. So these are this year's, you see they're much greener and they're not as bright. And then these are last year's, the reds are very red. But acers seem to panic. Not panic, but when they are unhappy or, well, run out of puff, they put on really good colours. So often you get customers come in who ask for like a really bright red acer during the summer that they've seen in someone else's garden, which generally is an unhappy plant because you don't really have many bright red ones in the summer. It's only autumn and spring. Well, you don't have any, sorry. Yeah, so it's an unhappy plant, so people don't understand that always. But yeah. So they're pretty even if they're sad.
Just taken delivery of the vegetable pots for our experimentations. Quite looking forward to that. Are you looking at them, Pep? Looking at these are quite good. The side is slightly straighter than the one I had that was a spare. And the diameter is a bit rounder. What do you think? It's a good just over 2 feet across inside measurement, so I'm quite happy with that. Not too deep. I suppose the important thing is going to be keeping them evenly moist. But looking at them here, you know, we're on a patio at home, they would be easy enough to water with an outside tap. Shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes a day. The 4 we've done so far are interesting. There's bugger all showing yet, but I don't expect there to be. Yeah. I have some old potting compost here ready to go. Thomas was using it. It's all right. There's a bit of weed in it, but that's going to get buried well down. So we'll just stick that in. A bit of old moss, a bit of liverwort. Won't hurt. Should hold the moisture a bit better. I'm quite looking forward to this. There is one problem I potentially see, and that's one of drainage. These pots have 4 bloody good big holes in them. I think they'd be all right, but they're right at the edge. And if you have things on the ground, very often the soil goes through the hole as it goes through the hole, and it forms a clod, and then you end up with not very good drainage. So I could put 4 more holes in the middle, but they should be adequate. What I am going to do is just, these are 2 uprights from a Dutch trolley, they're metal things, so I'm putting 3 of them on there. But you could just as easily use a couple of old bits of batten or any wood just to give them that extra little bit of drainage. Yeah, just that little cavity underneath, a little bit of a break. There we are. I'm really quite excited by this. Of course it might not work, and I really will look a tosser, but it will be interesting to find out. Not everybody has a garden, and sometimes, you know, your partner might like ornamentals. Well, you got a little nice sunny area, you could have a few of these pots and grow certain things in them. Can't see why not. A mobile veg garden. These pots, you know, they are a lifespan of 40 to 50 years. Just the buggers to see me out. So here we are. There are the first 6 tubs. I'm not in any hurry, but that's got some old crappy compost in. Some old some stuff that has died, and we just stick the old soil in the bottom. There's 3 at the back. I've got them on a couple of Dutch trolley uprights, and these are just on wooden battens, you know, lats. But anything really. You don't have to have a long one and put 3 on. You can use individual little bits of wood just to give them that little rise up off the ground. Oh, I've even got a little path between them here when I want to tend my produce. I'm quite enjoying this. That one's nearly full up. That's just old. I've just spent 5 minutes getting the old weed out and the old roots. Missed a bit there, see? And I'm going to put some peas in there. I think I'll use runner beans and maybe sweet corn and stuff at the back later on. But we'll have a look and we'll cost it out. I know we're not going to make any profit this year, but we have these pots for 40 years to come. And anyway, I'll show you what I'm going to do with some peas in a minute. So here we are again with another pot of old compost and a 2-inch casing on the top. I've got a few parsnips here. What I've done is create another little divot every about 3 to 4 inches apart. What I'm going to do, we used to years ago when we did parsnips, because they have a long germination period, they can take several weeks, especially when people used to sow them in February. Take a long time to germinate. So what we would do is put 3 or 4 seeds in a station like this, every 9 inches apart in a row, so that we knew where the rows were. We would maybe sow a few radish seeds in between, and those would just act as indicators and give us a few radishes early on. It just kept us knowing where the rows of parsnips were, because they took so long to germinate. I think now we're at the end of April, we can just sow 3 or 4 seeds per station. You get plenty of seeds in a packet, so we'll just put 3 or 4 in. You don't need any brick dust for these. Now if 3 or 4 come up, we'll just thin them to the strongest seedling. And that's it. That's all we will do. And then thin them out and see how it goes. I don't know if they're going to work in these containers. They're quite a hefty plant. You know, they have a lot of foliage. They may get a bit too concentrated in this sort of density. However, we can always thin some of them out, and I don't need big roots. Length in this case may be more important than width. With sweet corn, I'm just laying the seeds on top of 7 centimetre pots and just prodding them in, 1 per pot, just in the middle. Poke them in about 1/2 inch. There's no need to fart about with it. Up to the first knuckle, that'll do. There we are, simple as that. Tap them down, tamp them. I like a good tamp in here, but you need to do them 2 at a time. There's no need to get too worried about it. If it's in there, it's got moisture, it's got air, and a little bit of temperature and some light, it's going to grow. In the old days, we used to put like glass over the top of the seed tray or the pots and then paper on top of that, and I've never seen any necessity. We'll find out now, won't we? It's a lovely evening at home after a shower. This is a rhododendron of mine called Cinnamon. It really is beautiful. It might have another name with it, I can't remember. It was a long time ago that I got it, and it's been let go, so it's very hungry. I've just repotted it this year. It's quite a rare one, and cinnamon something it is, but it's a beauty. I love this evening light. It's you can come home and have a beer, and you know, it's just nice. There you go. Tell you what, let's have a look at what Thomas is up to. He must have been doing something interesting this week. Maybe not. We'll find out soon. I'm gonna have to get that ivy off that dovecot. Never has any doves in it, but I've had the same set of jackdaws in it for about 15 years. They like it.
Right, as I've just been dropping these 2 off into the field, I thought some people might be quite interested to see this. Like, obviously been on a farm, we've got water courses running through it, little rivers and becks. Obviously our farm, it borders with the River Tees, and it has all trees planted up and down it, mainly alders, and there's a few oaks. But these ones caught my eye because ordinarily, as I'm panning through them, you might think, oh, they're just a bunch of trees planted there. And for the 2 on the left, that's correct. But for these 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right, it's all actually from 1 tree. As you can see here, there's the 2 on the left. And this one on the right, as you can see, at some point, it fell. But it didn't die, it's actually stayed alive, and all that has happened is with dominance, all the branches have tried to become the new tree. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3, sort of 4 right the way up it, that each have individually come from 1 tree, all gone up to form what looks like a little cluster of trees, all from just 1 laid tree. Well, I think it's interesting anyway. If you don't, that's just your opinion, innit? But they are really quite fascinating how they can just adapt to these sort of situations. And here's another curious specimen we have on our farm. It's a common oak, Quercus robur, and you can just see how it's not very tall at all, and it's just been sculpted and shaped by its surroundings and by the landscape. It's the sort of thing that you can imagine, like people who do bonsai, they aim to get a tree with this sort of effect. And here on the farm we've got one for real here. You can see it's got a few dead bits crying out, but you can see by the circumference of the thing, it'll be at least a century old. And it's no taller than, I would say maybe 20-25 foot. You can see it's just really quite a unique little tree. Just in the landscape in the dales here. The majority of the trees on the farm are oak, but there's also alders, birch, ash, sorbus as well, and a handful of hollies. And you can see the yellow of the gorse bushes there out in full effect. Bah, lockdown's difficult, ain't it, folks?
Well, you have no idea. Nobody would have any idea how much I am pleased to see just a simple shower of rain. This has been going on for about 10 minutes now. It's getting me really excited. I hate to sound weird, but it just means I haven't got to spend hours upon hours, well actually Lisa hasn't got to spend hours upon hours of watering, and the backlog just gets a little bit of relief and get home before 8 or 9 o'clock at night. This business has it's proven difficult, but we will get through it. I bloody hope so. At the moment, with no staff, we're having to do everything. So the next week or two is going to be tied up with a load of plants that we have coming in, plug plants, liners, stuff that has PBR on. We've tried to cut back on as much of the bedding that we weren't contracted to take, but we still have to produce pots. One of the things we have to do, the easiest way we have, is to fill the pots, get a little bit intimate with a bag of compost, in as much as give it a good roll around the bench. Just because when they're on a pallet they get pressed down and flat, so we need to, it comes out in lumps. You could do the individual pots, but frankly I haven't got time to do the individual pots. So we just roll it along the trays. Modern nurseries have a machine that does this thousands at a time. This isn't a modern nursery. And then it's just a question of spreading them around as best we can. And then a bit of tamping. You can tamp the whole tray, spread it over. And just get the residue off, and then that goes on the piles. You can see there are some piles along there, and also along here. If you have a look at these. Now I need to do 165 trays, and you don't realise how many that is until you've done about 20, which is 5 bags of compost. I'm about halfway there now, but it took most of yesterday. And then we also have to do 1 litre trays. I need to do lots of 1 litre pots like that, and then we put them into trays like that. I need 6,500 pots. Again, you don't realise how many 6,500 is until you've done the first 1,000. That's it. I shall remain here, hiding from customers. Are you still doing that thing? It's just I'm not really hiding from customers. I just have, right, well, it is a good excuse. Smaller pots, 1 finger. That is all we need. Single fingers.
And you can see it gradually beginning to come down.
Single fingers.
It's not coming down as fast as it went up, but I've said before, I expect there to be a bit of a plateau stage here before things.
And then we just get them out.
But you can see it's going to slow down. And again, this is the comparison. It's difficult to actually
And then
look at exactly what this
just
means as people record things differently.
drop them in.
But the message is,
1,
R is down,
2.
the number of new cases is down, that's turning.
You just pinch them in again.
Fewer people in hospital, fewer people in intensive care, and we're beginning to see that decrease in deaths. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Patrick. Well, we're going to go first to members of the public who've got some questions.
There's no need to take too long over it.
I'd like to hear,
It's quite
Michelle in
a
Cornwall.
simple job. And then again, you can just tamp the whole tray. Job done. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but these trees are just about a couple of feet over my height. They're about just under 8 foot. When I came here 25 years ago, these trees were 2 to 3 times this size. I actually reduced them right down and started again with them, and now we keep them at this size. It's very effective. You really do not always need dwarf trees. I know I'm going on about it. You'll have to bear with me because I forget what I have said, and there's so many of these videos now, and people are always telling me I repeat myself. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a lovely evening. It's Sunday. I don't know, is it the 3rd of May or the 4th of May? I don't know. I didn't even know. Next week's a bank holiday, next Friday. Apparently it's VE Day or something. VE Day. That's worth celebrating. Victory in Europe. You have to hope that we stay free. I always worry these days that we get censorship by no platforming, or censorship by not putting things on YouTube or Google or whatever. You have to be so careful. And people these days are so easily offended, and some people, they just love to be offended for somebody else. I don't understand that, or understand why. Look at that now, see that there? That is that maple. That was right thick in the middle. It's called red pygmy. I know it don't look very much of a pygmy now because it's about 6-7 foot tall. But it's one of those linear lobum ones where you have this long, thin leaf. And it just has this lovely, I don't know, clarity, light clarity sort of colour or cast to it this time of the year. It's beautiful. As is that there. Now that is Caltha palustris, the marsh marigold. Isn't that lovely? The bugger seeds around all over the place, but it's a beautiful plant, and if you've got a damp, wet corner, you can get away with it really quite well. Have we been in the hostas of late? I'm not sure. Probably went in there last week. They're starting to move along now. Let's have another look at them little ones that we top dressed. We did that, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago? This is going to be a very popular one, I think. Great Expectations. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? You see how they're from the shower of rain that we've had, they're like jewels on there. That's a maple, and the bugger burns if I don't put it in the shade. I'm gonna have to see Matthew about that. He'll probably tell me it wants binning. Here they are, little boys, you remember doing them? I was only about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're looking so much better with a bit of air around their gills. Brunneries. They look like a forget-me-not. Now here's the thing I've never understood, and I just cannot get it. You often see, I can't remember the name of the company, Evelyn and something, they do a perfume called Forget-Me-Not, and it has a picture of forget-me-nots on the front of the bottle or jar or squirty thing. And you know what? I don't know why, because forget-me-nots, they don't have any scent whatsoever. None. So the dogs hang around the top of this stream because the occasional rat comes up there. And they come up under these stones. These stones were bedded out hundreds of years ago. The stream was bedded out in stones from when it was a mill. Anyway, they come up there, so they hang around because they very much like rats. It's funny that they catch a rat and they kill it and they leave it. Catch a rabbit and they eat it. Now, how do they know not to eat rats? Instinct, I suppose. I'm talking about death now and killing things. I'll probably get more complaints. Another half a dozen down ticks. Omphaloides. That's a little starry fan. I can't remember the species of that. That's embarrassing, isn't it? But it's called Omphaloides. And it's a nice little thing for the shade. It's a nice midnight rider geranium there coming up. It has a nice dark blue flower to go with the foliage. That's not it, that's the bloody primula.
Hi, I'm Laura. I just thought I'd show you some potting. I'm just potting up, let's find a nice one. Last year's 1 year grass in 7 centimetre pots. These are going into litres. We're a little bit late because what are we now, May? We should have been done them a couple of months ago, but my sister Sophie, who does all our potting, the potting machine, is obviously not here. So luckily, me, my brother and my mum, so me, Matthew and Wendy, all live on site. Well, I don't know if it's lucky because it means I come to work every day. But yeah, so anyway, Sophie can't be here to do all the potting, so I'm doing some. So yeah, so putting them into these litres. We use ericaceous compost mixed with potting bark, because the potting bark opens up the compost to help it drain, because Japanese maples don't like to sit wet over the winter. They like being watered all through the summer, but when they don't have any leaves on, they don't really want to be watered. And it can actually get quite wet in our tunnels over the winter, especially this year. We had a lot of rain, didn't we? And the water just runs under the tunnels. If you've got single tunnels, you don't have gutters. Anyway, that's going off topic. So yeah, that's a pretty puny one, but that'll be fine. We pot most things up because they will grow. There's goodness in this compost, so it will make them grow. We just take off the top, like Malcolm says, shouldering, I think he calls it. Take it off, pot it up, pop it in, make sure it's all firm. Put a fair bit of compost in because they're always going to get weeded, so you're going to have to take a bit of soil out for weeding. And yeah, these are very pretty. I love these. They're amazing. This is Syrio, sorry. They have an amazing autumn colour of orange, red and yellow. I'm just pulling the suckers off. Yeah, that's about it really. I'm just working my way through all of the varieties, which there are many, but it's actually quite a nice job because they look heaps better. They'll need a cane next year, but yeah, they'll be fine. Good. This one's got suckers on it. I don't know if you can see. That is the understock. This is the Syrio, the graft. So when we cut them back, so we cut back the graft, so you graft on the scion, which is the variety you want to reproduce, which is Syrio in this case, and you graft it onto the understock, which is just Acer palmatum. Green ones we use because the red ones are much better for selling as they are. So we cut that back in the winter, and then obviously it's still a live plant, so it does start to shoot out. I don't know if you can see. I don't know where it is on the camera. So all you need to do, if they're small enough, is just knock them off. It doesn't do any damage. I mean, if they're too big, you cut them because otherwise you tear the skin. But it, like, even if you leave a tiny little mark, that'll just all grow. That'll all grow out and yeah, be fine. So yeah, that's about suckers. And some of them get, even the big acers which have been grafted for a long time, can send up suckers. So all you do is just snap them off. My dad always said it was better to break them off, like tear them off, not tear them so you leave a mark, but snap them off rather than cut them so they don't grow back, apparently. So, I mean, he knew everything. So there's another sucker, snap that off. Also, with the suckers, you want to get rid of them because they will take over with the grafts, which the suckers will get more of the goodness, and some of them can grow up around if you don't get to them quick enough, which we often don't because, well, we have lots to do. Let's find another one. Look at that one. He's huge. He's wonky, but that's fine because we will pop him. Next year he'll go into a 3 litre. He could go straight into a 3 litre now, but we haven't got time to put 3 litres yet. So all he needs is a cane next year and he will be a perfectly straight little plant. Just want to show you, these are the ones I've just potted up. These are where they came from. So these are 7 centimetres, I've shown you them before. They go here, so they instantly look bigger in a bigger pot. And this is what they'll look like next year. Absolutely ginormous. Some of them, yeah, not all the varieties obviously, but they will be all bigger. And these are in desperate need, again, like everything is, I keep saying, of being potted up. So these will go into 3s soon. This is my little boy helping us pick out orders, aren't you? I hope you like his hat, Malcolm. This was made by my granny when I was a little girl. Whoops! You're doing a great job, mate. You're picking up the litres, aren't you? These are our litre plants that were potted last spring. So they went from being this size to being this size. You've got one more left. One more. Oh, 2 more. What have you got in your hand?
More.
What are they called?
No.
Can you say Shishikashira
A sailor.
and Orium? Can you name them? Orium? No. He's a good boy.
Come on then. Oh, are you filming that already? Right. Okay. So, my idea with these is, I'm not going to put a casing on it. This is the old potting compost. And it's, you see on the top there, I'll put that in the next pot. And what I'm going to do is sow a few peas around the outside. I'm going to get, you know your reed on a packet, that you need to sow them every 2 inches apart. Well, I'm not going to talk about measuring them like that, and neither am I going to do anything. So if you just have a look at that, you'll see how I've sowed them on there, just in a circle around the outside of the compost. Now we need to wang them in to cover them up, so I'm just going to use the casing this time on top of the seeds. Over there, rather than sewing into the casing, I'm going to just put the casing directly on top of the peas. The good thing about these is, really, if you think about it, and there's no reason why it shouldn't work, is if you're plagued by cats. Cats like nothing better than a nice seed bed to shit in, and they do. They think you've done it just for them, and they look at you when they're doing it with a bloody tail waggling. So the casing is on top of the peas. Now I think I might just put a little bit more on there. Just a little bit more. So rather than planting them 2 inch deep, we're putting them on the old compost surface and then we're putting the casing on top of them, having sewn them around the outside. Then we're going to get this, it's just a, like we did with the delphiniums, it's just a roll of pig wire. Then we'll just push that down into there, and then we'll run these canes down. Down to the bottom there. I'll just go and put the water on. I forgot to do that. I was unprepared. So, we'll just give them a good water in. Now 2 or 3 pots like this would give you a, I don't know what the circumference of this is, of this pot, but that's the equivalent of the row of peas. It's probably around about 4.5, 5 foot. Give them a good soaking to start with. And that's it. If we don't get a good crop of if we don't get a good crop of peas off of that, my cock's a kipper. Why are you shaking your head? Don't shake your head, where is me?